Welcome back to another episode of Red Tinted Glasses. And international football is finally over, and club football, the main focus for a lot of you, is finally back as the Dons travel down to Perth this weekend, looking to build on that victory over Hearts last time out. I'm delighted this week to be welcomed back by my regular co-host, out of his sick bed, Calum. Welcome back to the show. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. We've got one bit of antibiotics left, so we're on course to recovery. That wasn't fun at all. But what a good. I'm going to cover all bases here. Scotland win against Spain. Oh, good point we earned there. And classic Scotland, glorious failure. Am I right, guys? Am I right?
Okay. Now you can tell what night we recorded this, but I was quite disappointed that you told me just before recording that you had a bet on for the Hearts game that had Duke scored a hat-trick. You'd have been coming on and doing a live on Red Tinted Glasses and shaving off the moustache. I wonder if a few people will maybe leave a comment trying to take you up on that bet again for future reference.
No doubt. I have no doubt. Maybe that could become a weekly feature. We could pick something to happen in a game, and if it happens, I shave off my mustache. But we'll maybe discuss that for after the St Johnstone game. So I'm not quite ready to part with it just now. But when Duke scored those two goals, I was terrified, to say the least.
Yeah, so is the Hearts defence, and hopefully the St Johnstone defence will be equally terrified this weekend, providing that he continues to come home from international duty safe and in one piece as well. I'm not sure if Cape Verde have got a game tonight or over the next couple of days, but it has been a busy period for a few Dons players that have been involved in international action. We're, of course, recording this episode live on Monday night, where Bojan Miovski's just scored the winner for Macedonia in a 1-0 victory over the Faroe Islands, backing that up after an assist in their opening game over Malta, which they won 2-1. So a good international break for the Macedonian. I'm sure will do his confidence the world of good being involved in certainly getting in the goals as well, Calum, because that was something we spoke about on the last episode, that even though Miovski's not bagging, he's doing a lot of things right for the Dons. So, coming back full of confidence can only be a good thing.
Exactly. Ready to score for the Reds this coming weekend, hopefully. But he came off the bench as well to score against Faroe Islands, which I suppose is probably better for us because it means he's got a little bit of rest as well, and as well as that little confidence boost. So pretty much perfect international break for Bojan anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. A frustrating one for Duke. As mentioned, 0-0 against Eswatini. I think it was on Friday. I murdered the pronunciation probably. I'm sure he'll be disappointed, but I noticed they're sitting on 4 points in their qualification group, so still in the hunt for qualifying. But maybe not alerting the scouts to his presence on international duty. So good on him doing that.
Absolutely.
When we look at Scotland, the under-21s have had a dreadful international break as their form has really fallen off a cliff. But Connor Barron getting back on the pitch and getting minutes is maybe good for us in case we need him in the run-in towards the end of the season. But also congratulations to Ryan Duncan. Might have wanted to do it in better circumstances as the under-21s went down 3-0 to the Welsh, but making his under-21s debut, so I'm sure a proud moment for Ryan nonetheless.
Absolutely, think so. And in terms of for Aberdeen, pretty perfect on that front as well, given the fact Connor Barron's got some minutes after a lengthy spell on the sidelines. And as you say, hopefully going to be able to contribute. And hopefully, if he's able to, he actually will contribute between now and the end of the season. And a reward for Ryan Duncan that he deserves as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And a player that's come in and conceded from plenty of penalties is Jay Horter, but what a penalty save he produced for the Dutch under-21 side as they dispatched of Norway 3-0. You'll be wondering why he couldn't do that for Aberdeen a few times already this season.
I know, but good practice. I'm sure we'll give away a few more between now and the end of the season if he keeps his place. I mean, Kelarus came in, had a decent performance, not much to do, mind you. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. To see who starts between the sticks. And Jay Horter sure to be full of confidence as well at this point. Just disappointed he didn't go more mental, if I'm honest. That would have been nice. Clearly just
Yeah.
saving that for the Reds.
Yeah, definitely. We'll come on to that discussion point in a little bit. We'll just finish rounding up the internationals as of Monday at 7:15 when we're doing this. Matty Kennedy didn't make the squad for Northern Ireland as they beat San Marino 2-0 away from home, but was an unused sub in the home defeat to Finland last night. And as we're recording this before the game started, but Yilba Ramadani is starting in midfield for Albania away to Poland. So some good representation across the board from Don's players. And I suppose when you look at certainly the likes of Ryan Duncan as well, just showing that there is that pathway not only into the first team, but getting onto the international scene as well.
Yeah, that's definitely encouraging. And I mean, in years gone by, we've probably not had so much players involved during these international breaks. So I suppose that's a good thing for us. We're stepping in the right direction. Maybe not so good for like Barry Robson missing some key players on the training pitch, but I think it all round positive. Adds to values as well. So that's always good.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, it's kind of been a busy weekend in terms of the international, but an eventful weekend off the pitch for one. Don's loanee, of course, we're wishing Hayden Coulson and his family all the best after, of course, that accident at Muckles, and hopefully their dog Zara is found safe and well and returned home. I'm sure a pretty scary incident, but along with everybody else in the accident, it's great to see that, it just seems to be a bit walking wounded from that.
Yeah, absolutely. But fingers crossed for Hayden. No, that can't be nice. But remember, don't approach the dog because it's probably terrified still.
Yeah, exactly. And let's hope it gets home safe. One thing I never discussed on last week's show, Calum, was the season tickets being released. We got a fancy wrap from Ransom FA. Much better than Iona Fife's slow Northern Lights. I mean, it was nice, but I like this up-tempo beat from Ransom. You do have a gripe, though, and since you weren't here last week, I'll let you air it now about the season tickets.
Thank you for saving this for me. Same as last season, to be honest, except this time it kind of applies to me. No student prices, which is a bit of a shame. I thought that was something maybe Alan Burrows might come in and look to address, just make it sort of more accessible for students. Obviously, they do have the youth price, which does help that grade of people. However, as well as just the ridiculous prices in general, having a student price would be far better because they say a lot of people will probably fit into the youth category, but not the case. Not gonna be me. I'm not gonna fit into the youth category. I'll be paying full price. Despite the fact I will become a student after the summer. So it's not just a personal thing. So I raised it last time as well. And if you're trying to encourage more people to come along as well, there's a lot of students come to the city. They might fancy it if they're football fans. But if you're not enticing them with, a discounted price, then what's the point? And a lot of students are not in that age range as well, which isn't fantastic because obviously they're probably not able to hold down a full-time job as well as study, which just doesn't help them at all. So sort it out for next season, please, Mr. Burrows.
Yeah, something I'm sure that you'll be keen to get off your chest when he joins us on the podcast at a later date as well. And speaking of people joining the podcast as well, of course, we have a lot of you that watch this show over on YouTube, and we've got a lot of you that subscribe. Of course, if you are new to the channel or watching for the first time, and haven't done so, why not hit that subscribe button? But we've also noticed a good spike in the listenership to the podcast as well. And we're actually closing in on 100,000 listens, which is pretty good going for just over 2 years, I think it's safe to say. And providing we do that between now and the weekend with this preview, which I believe we should anyway, unless people are really put off after the break. And we've got a special former player interview to bring you, which we'll look to release after the weekend of the St Johnstone game. I'll be something to look forward to on the back of what has been a stop-start few weeks with the Dons.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about it, but I'm not going to say anything else because I don't trust myself not to ruin the surprise.
No, and I don't trust you either. So if you don't or haven't done so, make sure you hit subscribe, get those notifications on so you won't miss when that episode is out. We're both very excited to do it. We mistimed when the person will be joining us night, so this is why we're doing the preview on Monday night, and it's probably out to you sooner than you expected. So, as we said, always prepared, always professional.
Yeah, wouldn't have it any other way, would we, man?
No, absolutely not. Let's hope Aberdeen are fully prepared and fully professional, though, as they head to Perth on Saturday. And we'll speak about changes for the Aberdeen side. And of course, we've already briefly mentioned it. Jay Horter wasn't in the squad last time out. Do you think he comes back in and takes the place of Calum in goals, or the place of Joe Lewis on the bench?
I don't know. It's a difficult one because Kel obviously came in. I mean, didn't have much to do, but what he did do against Hearts, he did very well. But at the same time, Jay Horter was definitely brought in on loan, obviously with Keller's out, but probably with the promise that he's going to be playing every game. And if you are going to try and keep him next season, then you're surely going to try and keep an Ajax's good books as well and keep giving him that game time so he can develop. So it will be an interesting one. I wouldn't be surprised. I think he will come back in, but at the same time, I wouldn't be disappointed, I suppose, if Kelros does keep the gloves. However, given it's an away game and given Jay Horter's antics at Tannadice, I would also be a big fan of him coming back in, since I will be in attendance at McDiarmid Park.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll enjoy winding up the Fair City unity if he is in goals one way or another. But I suppose for the rest of the team, obviously Johnny Hayes picked up his usual concussion substitute that seems to be a regular feature for him against Hearts. But again, maybe the fact that we've had a couple of weeks break between games allows him to retain his place in the starting 11. Do you see him doing so, or do you think this is maybe the type of game, again with the greatest of respect to St Johnstone versus Hearts, do you think this is maybe the type of game that Ryan Duncan gets a start over Johnny Hayes this time out?
I think possibly. It will be interesting to see what we do, whether we go with sort of the 5 back, the 3 centre backs, whatever you like. Because we did that against Hearts with Hayes starting at left wing back to begin with. But given our woes away from home, I know the opposition not fantastic at home themselves. It'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. I don't really have too much preference either way. I suppose if we go with the 4, that maybe gives us more attacking intent, but then I'm still always worried about our defence, even though we have obviously massively improved with Goose and Maverick back there. So I don't know. I would like to see Ryan Duncan as well get another chance, probably really for his development as well. And he seemed to be doing pretty well. Probably unfortunate to drop out of the team versus Hearts.
Yeah, I kind of agree on that as well. And as you point out, St Johnstone really struggling at home, no home win since they defeated Rangers back on the 6th of November at McDiarmid Park. Of course, we're not exactly setting the heather on fire away from home ourselves this season, but of course we are going back to a venue where we did win. Of course, Leighton Clarkson's stunning free kick sending the Dons back up the road with 3 points. So we should be going to Perth with confidence. Mm-hmm. St Johnstone's form going into this has been a bit indifferent, but as you said, we've solidified the defence. We've got Duke in form. Miovski coming back, hopefully with a bit of confidence from the international break. There's no reason why we should be going down to St Johnstone on Saturday with any sort of fear or trepidation.
Yeah, I would agree with that, which is why I'd probably lean to just the 4 back and get those fullbacks bombing forward as well at the same time. But it's still one I am nervous about, given the fact it's just away from home, because it's Aberdeen Football Club. Let's remember that. But Robson's got us playing Dons are back, baby. So there's a little bit of confidence creeping back in, which is probably a bad thing for all involved.
Yeah, potentially. But we spoke on the last episode, on Last Time Out, about this game being extremely important for momentum in the race for third. But from an Aberdeen point of view as well, the momentum and also backing up that victory against Hearts. Because yes, we want to focus on ourselves this weekend, which we will do. But, as fans, your eyes are always going to be averted elsewhere, and you're just going to, what happens if they slip up. Oh, it's a tricky place to go. And it is a tricky place. Hearts are off to Kilmarnock, where their record's terrible. They needed a 92nd minute ping from, I think it was Stephen Humphreys in the 92nd minute to rescue a point down there last time out. And Hibs are hosting in for Motherwell. And Motherwell have quite a decent record at Easter Road as well. So potential for those two Edinburgh sides to continue to drop points. So for me, this is a game, again, against opposition that we've previously beaten on their patch and beaten under Barry Robson as well. We should be going into this game full of confidence and looking to continue that run and really make other teams feel under pressure from us. They'll stand up and take notice of what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as you say, we need to focus on ourselves, but at the same time, it is really hard not to look elsewhere. And ideally, they do both slip up and drop points. But most importantly, yeah, we need to do our job and keep that pressure on. And I suppose that's more likely that if that's the case, for them to maybe crack up or fall apart again, if you'll pardon that one. And I suppose there's got to be confidence taken as well in the fact that even in this barren away spell, which has lasted about 2 years, Perth has been one of the favourable places to go for us, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not really the most enjoyable away ground, but yeah, we weirdly have a decent record down there, and it would be good if we can extend that going into this weekend, because the games do start coming thick and fast. We don't have the luxury of week on, week off. And I just think with the way that the fixtures come, if we can go down to Perth on Saturday and pick up the 3 points, we're then hosting an out of sorts Kilmarnock away from home. It's a real chance to, suddenly string 3 wins together. And you just look at the table, and especially, this season, last season, teams that could put that small run together quickly put themselves in a strong position. We did it at the start of the season, and Hearts did it around the turn of the year. So it's maybe back to being our turn again.
Exactly. I suppose you could. The prime example of that is Barry Robson's tenure in charge so far. And given where we were before, he's managed to put a few results together. And all of a sudden, we're back in the mix instead of, a month ago going, oh shit, we might be getting relegated here. And all of a sudden, we're maybe stupidly, however we are, getting our hopes up in terms of finishing third, which seems ridiculous. And the fact I've said it out loud probably means we're cursed and doomed. But that's exactly your point. If we can put results together and put a run of form, I mean, why not? And especially if we keep building up going into the game against Rangers at home. I know it's a long way away yet, but if we are on fire and we're at Pittodrie and they're coming up here, then you never know what can happen.
No, exactly. And, you spoke about Barry Robson's Reds and the fact that he sorted out that defence. I don't know. I've not watched the Pollock and McDonald interview on Red TV when they were playing darts, but it's definitely on my to-do list. But as I said, we're recording this on Monday, and there was a couple of tweets out today on social media that Jess Thorop apparently was a manager being considered for the vacant Aberdeen position. But the quote being put out was, he wants better than a chaos club which can't compete. I mean, chaos club really does suit what we've seen over the last couple of years.
I think so. It's very fitting. I mean, he's not wrong, but he didn't have to say it. Good Lord. I hope you all enjoyed that Stephen A. Smith impression. I mean, not surprising, although P&J, I think, came out and seemed to rubbish that in terms of the fact he was a candidate, but after the sort of first initial discussions, it was clear the finances were never going to work. Yeah. So that was that. So I don't really know what's going on with that.
Yeah, another good bit of clickbait to get us excited in what seems to have been another continuation of quiet period in the hunt for a new manager. And there's something we were discussing at work today, actually, is that it's almost weird that it's gone on for so long. And, sometimes, of course, with the club, transfers play out behind the scenes that nobody has any inside info on. And it's just not until you see it posted on the club's social media accounts. But not often you see it the case with a manager. Normally there's some form of leak or some journal has an exclusive here or there, and it just everything seems to have gone very quiet on that front.
Absolutely. And I kind of don't mind it, to be honest. I'm just quite happy with ticking away until that right man is in the dugout, basically. I'm quite happy with that. I mean, I try not to get excited when there's a new manager linked. After the Chris Wilder's overlapping centre back Reds heartbreak, but it's very odd, and they seem to have tightened things up because for a couple of years we were leaking things left, right, and centre. So maybe Andy Considine's departure, maybe that his agent was the problem.
Or maybe just Andy Considine was the problem, full stop.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare! Keep my man's name out your mouth.
Well, he could, of course, Agent Considine could lend us a helpful hand towards finishing third. I mean, he got away with a very helping hand to help St Johnstone claim a point last time out against Kilmarnock. Let's just hope VAR is working a lot better than it did last time out in Scottish Premier League.
Oh, absolutely. That being said, let's hope that Grant Irvin's nowhere near involved as well, because that man, it just irritates me, given, the Ross McCrory thing that I was struck down with tonsillitis. I was watching the Inverness, who were they playing again? Oh, Partick Thistle. And then he wrongly sent off a player, like awfully sent off a player in that game as well. So I just hope he's nowhere near it.
Yeah, I don't even know who's in charge this weekend. I'm sure Shelty will let us know. He normally does if he's tuning into this episode. But as I said, it was an episode that we've recorded because we had an hour spare before our special guest joined us. So not fully prepared, not fully professional, but hey, look, plenty of you tune in, plenty of you enjoy it. It's like we're just down the pub just having a laugh, as we said last time out on the show when Johnny and Robbie joined me, and that's what we've treated this as ever since we started. And look, it seems to have worked, and you guys seem to be enjoying it. So for those of you traveling to the game or going to the game, if you're listening to this pre-match on Saturday, enjoy the game. Let's hope we come back with 3 points, because I'm really enjoying this positive streak that we're doing on the podcast.
It's very weird, isn't it? It's not like us at all, in no way, shape or form.
No, not at all. But as we said, if you are watching on YouTube, remember to leave a like, a comment with your thoughts down below, maybe a comment on what you'd like to see happen in a game coming up that could result in Calum losing his moustache. I'm sure that would be highly amusing for everyone but Calum. And of course, if you are listening to these episodes, remember to hit that subscribe button and get the notifications on for that interview that hopefully will be out next week, depending on the amount of listens.
Fingers crossed. And also, if you're wanting a stable manager, then check out my Twitch, links in the description on YouTube. The Ferry Fergie has been flying. Cup double in the first season, some disappointment in the second. Just got knocked out in the Europa League knockout round by AC Milan. So come check that out if you fancy. I don't have much else to add, Glen, do you?
Come on, you Reds. That's it.